He was a drunk, a misfit, a hero, and a role model. TV shows and books were made about this guy. We're talking Greg Pappy Boyington in the Hangar. Hi, welcome to In the Hangar. I'm Dan Milliken, and we have wonderful sponsors. Please check them out. We're going to talk about them a little bit more at the very end in the description below. So we're talking about Greg Pappy Boyington. Many of you have heard about him. I grew up on Baa Baa Black Sheep, and he was an amazing World War II ace. But we want to know more about how he started. I have History of World War II podcast, Ray Harris Jr. here. Ray, tell us about Pappy.
Yeah, Pappy, he's like a lot of pilots. Rough start, but he ends up a hero. So Pappy is going to have to overcome so many obstacles to get to that hero status. Unfortunately, a lot of those obstacles are of his own making.
Right.
So his biological father is a dentist. So the first thing you want to assume is that he's going to have a pretty good life. His father's going to make good money. There's going to be a lot of affluence. Pretty good. No. His father is abusive. So he abuses the son. He abuses the mother. Mommy takes Pappy, who's not even 3 years old yet, away and marries another man. This man is also abusive and an alcoholic, and he beats mom, he beats son, and when he gets angry, he drinks, and when he drinks, he gets angry. You should remember that for the future. So by age 3, Pappy has learned 2 things. One, the only person in the entire world that he loves and that he cares about is his mama, because she takes care of him. But the other thing he learns because of his the biological father and the stepfather is, you never, ever, ever back down from a bully. You never stop fighting. And he's going to carry that on when he becomes a pilot. So he's got a chip on his shoulder. Obviously has a very troubled childhood, a troubled home life, and so he gets into wrestling. He finds something to do with his aggression. He's a solidly built guy. He's tough. Sometimes he goes too far, but he wrestles in high school and he does really well. He goes to college, and he wants to fly because when he was 5 years old, there was a flying show that came through town. He somehow got the money together. The pilot took him up for a 15-minute flight. That's it. Pappy, all he wants to do is fly for the rest of his life. So he goes to college and he studies engineering and architecture. Even though he wants to fly, he knows that flying can be an expensive hobby. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, it's pretty cheap.
Yeah, okay, good.
Easy to do, yeah.
I can't wait
anybody can do it.
Yeah, I can't wait to get started. So he's like, I'm going to need some cash. So he goes to college, he graduates in 1934, but by this time, the Great Depression has set in. He's having a hard time finding a job, but there is some good news. He finds a woman, Helen Clark. They fall in love. They get married. They have a kid, Gregory Jr. So now he's got to take care of his wife and his kid that he loves very much. And he wants to do a better job than what he went through when he was a kid. So he's looking around, but he's having a hard time finding a job. Finally, he gets a job at Boeing, but he's drawing airplanes. He's not flying them. He's very frustrated, but he's doing the best he can. So in 1935, Congress passes the Aviation Cadet Act. And what it is America, like everybody else, knows war is coming. We need to ramp up. I think America was like the 17th largest military at the time.
Yeah, it was like really small.
Yeah. So it's like, we got to ramp up. So what it is if you join this, we'll teach you how to fly. You have to join the Marines. We'll teach you how to fly. We'll pay you. You have a 3-year commitment, and then we'll bump your pay. This is perfect. Yeah. You're going to teach me how to fly. You're going to pay me. I can take care of my family. What could possibly go wrong? This is what goes wrong. Pappy is so consumed with the training, he ignores his wife, he ignores his child, she gets frustrated, and she moves in with another man. So Pappy is devastated. You are the love of my life. And so they start working on their marriage. He's like, I'm so sorry I neglected you. Let's work on this marriage. And what he needs, what will take care of most of his problems, is a ton of cash. And quickly, thank you very much. And he hears about the AVG. So he's like, okay, the American Volunteer Group, what it is America gave Chiang Kai-shek a whole bunch of money to help fight the Japanese. FDR also sent them 100 Curtiss Wright P-40 fighters. They wanted to send more, but now we got to ramp up for our own needs, and we're giving planes to the British. So this is all you get. Don't mess these planes up. So August 1941, Pappy quits the Marines. He takes literally a slow boat to China, which is a story in itself. At one point, he has to pretend to be a priest. He doesn't know anything about being a priest. So he gets there, and right away, he's got this attitude. He's pushing 30 years old. The average age of all the other pilots is 21. He's the old man. He's Pappy. But Pappy's like, I'm a Marine pilot. I've been flying for years. You're a bunch of kids. You should make me squadron leader. We're not going to be squadron leader, because he has an attitude. He rubs everybody the wrong way. He wants everybody to see him as amazing, because I think he's trying to compensate for so much. So anyways, so he's butting heads with the pilots, and then he butts heads with Claire Chennault, who's in charge of AVG. Now, Claire Chennault is an amazing person in his own right, and I'll describe this, but you probably understand this better than I do. So Chiang Kai-shek hires Claire Chennault. Claire Chennault comes over, and he takes a look at the Zero. It can go fast, it can turn on a dime, it's got long range, it can climb faster than anything the Americans have. What do the AGV have? They have the P-40. It's a good plane. It's no Zero. It can't go as fast, it can't turn as tight, it doesn't have the long range. So Claire Chennault says, if these two mix it up, I don't care who's sitting in this P-40, in about 3 minutes you'll be dead, because you can't hang with a. And the Japanese pilots have years of experience because they've been fighting in China. This is not even close. So what Chennault says is, let's fight defensively. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go as high as we can. We're going to dive down and gain as much speed as we can. You're going to go by a Zero. You're going to shoot at it, go past, come up, and do it again. You do anything other than this, and you are dead. And this rubs Pappy the wrong way. No, I'm a fighter. I'm a great pilot. Let me take him on. He's like, no. But Pappy challenges Chennault in front of everybody. You don't talk back to the boss. Yeah, you don't talk back to the boss in front of everybody. So Chennault is like, I need you right now, but as soon as I can, you're out of here. Pappy's like, yeah, whatever. So they're training. They're doing their dog fights. And these 21-year-old pilots are going, I thought you were some hotshot. I don't see anything amazing. Pappy gets even more angry. So he starts drinking. He starts getting belligerent. He's ignoring the guys. Now, there are tons of stories of Pappy drinking and doing something stupid. I'll just give you 3 quick ones, and we can move past it. So the first one is, Pappy comes out of the bar, and there's a bar close to where they're training at, and he sees the ubiquitous rickshaw. And there's a slight man in the rickshaw, and Pappy goes, you know what? And he's drunk. I haven't had a lot of exercise lately. I know. He goes over to the small man, lifts him up, puts him in the rickshaw, gets in front of the rickshaw himself, runs to camp, gets to camp, pays the man, and says, thank you very much. This local man, he's Burmese, he's confused as heck. I don't know what just happened, but thank you for the ride and the money. Anyway, so next night, Pappy's going out. He's in a Jeep this time. He's driving back to camp. He's blackout drunk. He sees a cow in the field. He's like, this is going to be great. So he stops the Jeep, jumps the fence, runs over to the cow, gets the cow in a headlock. Come on, cow, what can you do? Anyway, to this day, we don't know who won the fight. To this day, we don't know if the cow even knew Pappy was there, because it's a cow. He doesn't know anything that's going on. So, and the last thing is, Pappy would get drunk and challenge anybody and everybody to a fight, because he's a wrestler. Sometimes he wouldn't ask you. He would just go up and start wrestling you. And you better be ready, or you're going to get seriously hurt, because he's this big, powerful guy with these broad shoulders. And again, but he's ruining his own career. Now, the reason he's here, besides flying, is he needs cash, because the AVG says, we'll pay you more than any pilot has ever earned. For every enemy plane you shoot down, you'll get $500. This is in 1941. This is going to take care of all his problems. But he's screwing it up because he can't listen to authority. He can't stand it when people don't realize how amazing he is. So he's got a long way to go. So there comes up stories where, like, he's finally flying. He's in the 3rd squadron. There's 3 squadrons. He's in the tail end of the last one. No one's taking him seriously. He's very bitter. He goes up and he's flying with the squadron, and somebody else is in charge of the squadron, and it's a young kid. this kid's probably 20 years old. And Pappy goes, shouldn't we be flying higher, like per Chenault's orders? And the kid goes, don't worry about it, we're fine. 10 seconds later, a whole bunch of zeros come down because they were bounced. They were flying higher. The formation has to scatter. It's a melee. It's a dogfight. Within seconds, Pappy's got 1 0 on his tail. He's got 2 zeros on his tail. He's got 3 zeros on his tail. He's trying every move he's ever thought of. He's doing everything. There's no way he's going to shake zeros in a P-40. Finally, he just hits the deck, goes home, and he lands his plane. When he lands, he finds out 2 things. One, he stayed around longer than anybody else because he thought that's why we're here. We're here to fight. Everybody else just took off and went home. And 2, he found out that the kid who was in charge of the flight that day was brand new and didn't know anything about Chenault's orders. Pappy's like, I'm going to kill him. And they literally have to sit on him and hold him down because he's going to kill this kid. There's a time when the Japanese come at their camp, the planes go up, and they're able to chase the Japanese away, but Pappy wasn't involved in it. So when the men celebrate, he doesn't celebrate with them because it's not about him. He's got a lot of demons. He's got just a lot of demons. The 3rd Squadron then gets sent to Rangoon in Burma because the Japanese are in Thailand. They start moving deeper and deeper into Burma, and they are able to defend Burma for a couple of weeks. They fly up. They use Chenault's ideas. They are able to wipe out entire attacks of Japanese. Pappy doesn't really give Chenault credit for that. But he's just got this massive chip on his shoulder. So anyways, so they keep going on, and then there's going to be a point where the squadron is going to attack 2 airfields. And Pappy's with this one group. As soon as they come over the last hill and they see the Japanese air base, it's not just some rinky-dink, podunk, advanced space with a couple planes. There are dozens of zeros there. And all the other pilots who were with Pappy are going, I got a bad feeling about this. Except for Pappy. What does he see? He sees dollar signs. For every plane I shoot,
there,
yeah, exactly. There. So he goes down first, he strafes, and he gets like 3 or 4 planes, and he goes up, and he comes back, and he's getting ready to go again. The Japanese are awake. They're manning their AA guns. They got this siren going. They're taking off in planes. And he comes down and strafes again, but there's bullets, there's tracers all over it's just scary as heck. He's going to do it a 3rd time. But his squadron leader says, let's get the hell out of here. We stirred up the hornet's nest. Let's get out of here. So they're flying home, and everybody's like, thank God we survived. Pappy is suddenly an accountant. He's like, I just earned $3,000. I'm going to send that back home, and everything's going to be great. When he lands, Chenault tells him, there's been a change in policy. You're not going to get $3,000. We're going to take the money, and we're going to divide it up evenly. Pappy is about to kill Chenault. He's got to be held back. He's got to be held back. This is just ugly. Then comes even worse news. The AVG is going to be disbanded because America is now officially in the war. We don't need the AVG. We're going to do it. And you all are going to be incorporated into the U.S. Army Air Force. Pappy says a whole bunch of bad words. I'm a Marine. I will always be. My son's a Marine. They're always Marines. They're not soldiers. They're Marines. So Pappy goes, I quit. He takes another slow boat back to home this time, and this is his darkest, deepest, worst period of his life. He goes up to some of the people in the Marines and he goes, "You got to get me back in. I can't join the Army. That's embarrassing. I'm a Marine." So they said, "Give us some time to work on it." It's going to take them 6 months to figure out the paperwork. What does he do for those 6 months? He has to go back and get his old college job, which was a parking attendant. Wow. So this guy who owns the lot, he goes, "You're an American hero. You're a flying tiger. You're on magazines, you're in newspapers, and you want to work for me?" And he goes, "I just need the money, man. Come on." "You can work for me as long as you want." So he works there for 6 months. Not until January 1943 did the Marines say, "Oh, we got everything taken care of. You're going back out to Asia." So again, another slow boat to Asia. And he goes to New Caledonia. Espiritu Santo is the airfield. And he's back in the Marines, and he's made a squadron commander. This is great, but it's not. There's no planes. It's a squadron on paper. We'll get to it. But you're a squadron commander. He gets angry. He gets drunk. He gets in a fight. He gets relieved of duty. He begs and begs and begs, and he gets restored. Thank God. So I'm finally finally going to fight. I'm finally going to be able to go up with my own squadron, my own team. No. He gets into another fight, breaks his ankle. I hope he won the fight. Breaks his ankle, has a cast on. And again, I don't think you can fly a fighter with a cast on.
Nope.
So a couple weeks, 6 weeks goes by, and the cast comes off. Around the time the cast comes off, the Marines are given the greatest gift they will ever receive, the Corsair.
Yep.
Now, this you probably know a heck of a lot more about them than I do, but the Corsair was meant to go to the carriers. But it's got such a big nose. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but it's got such a big nose, they couldn't see to take off or land. And so the Navy goes, give it to the Marines. And the Marines say, thank you very much. This thing can go over 400 miles an hour, sea level. It can climb 3,000 feet in a minute. It's got self-sealing tanks. It's got armor to protect the pilot. But the thing that's really going to make a huge difference besides the pilots flying it is it has double the range of the P-40. And you're talking, big, vast, open distances in the Pacific. So they start training on these. They start going up. Pappy is finally given his own squadron. And these are the men that become Black Sheep that we've all heard of. But Pappy's in his 30s now. And he can't be playing games no more. And what he finds out, and these kids are 20, 21. It's just, they're babies. And Pappy finds out very quickly, even though it's his squadron, he's not the toughest and he's not the craziest. Let me tell you who takes those slots. So the flight surgeon, they just call him Doc. He says, oh, yeah, I boxed in college. And Pappy says, oh, you're tough, huh? Why don't we step in the ring? They weren't in the ring for 30 seconds before Pappy is out cold, looking at the ceiling, going, what happened? What happened? So this guy just decked him. The other guy who's the craziest of the bunch, and when you watch Pappy, when you watch Black Sheep, they're all misfits and ne'er-do-wells. A lot of that was true, and a lot of it's based off this guy. This guy was Christopher McGee. When he went into combat, he wore a blue bathing suit. Why? In case he's shot down, so now he can swim in the water because he's got a bathing suit on. He also wears bowling shoes when he goes fighting, and he wears a red bandana around his head because it probably looks cool, I don't know, and no shirt. So picture someone looking like that, jumping into the plane, but Pappy is like, I don't care. As long as you do what I say and you can be an effective pilot, you can wear a tuxedo for all I care.
Did he wear a Mae West with shirtless and a blue bathing suit? The visual I'm getting here is probably something
I've seen pictures of both. Yeah, so he's just absolutely, so this is where, for everything that's happened to Pappy, and 99% of it is his fault, let's be honest. But his paternal instinct starts to come out. You are my boys. I will take care of you. Whenever he loses one, he feels it most keenly. I mean, you're my guys. He is now suddenly the old man. Hey, you get out there and you obey me and you listen to the rules and you stick with your wingman and you don't deviate. And he's suddenly, out of this guy who has been a reverend his whole life, he is now the authority figure, which would normally be very weird, but it's his love of these men and their love of him that makes all this work. And he gets them through some incredible times. He's flying with them as well. And they just march up the Solomons because Admiral Bull Halsey says, I need a squadron to lead the way. We're going to jump from airfield to airfield, but I need someone to take out the Japanese planes so then we can move up. And the Marines say, I got your guy, Pappy and his Black Sheep. So they do incredible things. And it's getting to the point where the Japanese won't even take off to engage them because they know it's going to happen. I mean, they're just wiping out planes left and right. Officially, by the time all this is done, Pappy has 28 kills, but to be honest with you, it's probably in the 30s because some of it, if no one sees it,
it doesn't count.
It doesn't count. Yeah. So he becomes the old man. He becomes the person that everybody loves. These men would charge hell for him with a bucket of water because he taught them what he learned when he was 3 years old. You never, ever, ever back down from a fight. And that's what he taught them. And then they go on and do amazing things.
And then, then he goes on and he got his last 2 kills, I believe, on the mission where he got shot down.
Yeah, he becomes a prisoner. He becomes a prisoner of war, and that's pretty tough because they find out who he is. They hid it for the longest time. They hid it because they're gonna. And
then they send him to the special prison for people we don't want anybody to know about.
Never find again. Yes, but see, a part of that was when he's going up the Solomons with his men, and the Japanese are refusing to come up. we're talking about Pappy Boyington. He gets on the radio and he's like, hey, why don't y'all come up and say hi? And they're like, hey, why don't you come down here and fight? He goes, I like it up here better. Why don't y'all come on up? And they won't come up. He literally strafes.
He taunts them.
And they won't come up because by this point, the Corsair has established itself as the dominant plane in this theater. And you've got these incredible pilots who are a team. They love each other. They trust each other. They work together.
And they're crazy.
And they're crazy as hell.
So they're unpredictable.
You believe it or not, I know pilots, I think it helps to be a little wonky.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
No.
There's a
I'm
lot
not saying
of that.
you.
No,
I
no,
never
not
know what
at
I'm
all.
saying.
Not at all.
Yeah. No, but they're able to march up the Solomons, to retake the Solomons. Bull Halsey's like, I couldn't have done this without you. Thank you so much. And again, he does lose men, and it's horrible for him because he's thinking about his own son. He's thinking about when he was a little boy, but they get the job done, and they never let up. Until he becomes captured. But unfortunately, because he has a lot of bitter memories after the war, he never meets up with the AVG pilots.
No.
It's too intense. But he will meet up with his Baba Black Sheep. And you probably saw when he did guest appearances on the show.
Yep,
so that was really cool.
2 appearances on there, yeah.
But again,
as a general.
He's got to be a general. But again, misfit, ne'er-do-well, broken home life, dysfunctional, chip on his shoulder the size of Texas, if I may, to American hero. Because he found his love of flying, and that gave him something to focus all of his anger on. And it made a difference. Fortunately, there was a war for him to use all that stuff.
Yeah, truly amazing.
Yeah.
And was a hero for me as a boy watching the show and everything else. Then later reading his book and everything else. And the book is very clear on how low and his drinking problems and everything else. Because when he did come back from the war with that miserable POW camp experience, which I believe is the same POW camp that the guy from Unbreakable story was at. Yes. So horrible conditions.
On purpose. It was horrible, yeah.
Yeah, and he was then promoted right away.
Right.
And sent on a bond tour.
That's what you do.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
And they just, I remember the reading about it that they had to do whatever they could just to get him dressed and to appear in public.
He's a fighter. I'm not a thoroughbred. I'm a workhorse. Get me back out there. But after he's been through all that,
Yeah,
yeah. But can I ask you something real quick? He wrote this in his memoirs, and I can't find if it's true, if he's lying, if he's exaggerating, but I wanted to ask you, when he's with the AVG, right before he leaves, he claims to have been the one who came up with putting his thumb in the sun to block it out so he can see if planes are approaching, and supposedly he taught everybody in the AVG. Have you ever heard of the origin of that?
I have heard that rumor, but I have not ever seen it substantiated who came up with that.
Right. I mean, it's probably one of those things where, to a pilot, once you fly long enough in combat, it would seem to be a
pretty,
basic.
Somebody's going to find that out.
Yeah. But maybe or not, that's one of his claim to fame. But again, by the time before he's captured, he shoots down, some 30 enemy aircraft. He helps lead the charge back up the Solomons, breaks the Japanese spirit, and after a while, like I said, they don't even send planes up to face him.
Well, that's just amazing. Thank you for telling us the origin story, because that was some really, to find out who this hero was and where he came from is really interesting. And in a lot of ways, it's like the other episode we did with you with the Malta Flyers. It's these misfits. It's these people that can't function in normal society, but you put them in the right place at the right time, and they're heroes.
Exactly. It's like you almost want to say to them, could you get out of your own way, please?
Right.
And that's what they need.
Well, thanks again, Ray. And I always enjoy having you come on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And thank you guys for watching. Make sure you check out the History of World War II podcast on all the major services. It's great listening. I've been listening for a long time now. I'm only up into the 300s on my episode count. So, and I don't even think I'm out of I'm not even halfway through 1942. So it's very, very detailed, and I love it. So also, thanks to our sponsors. We've got some really great sponsors. Check them out in the description. We've got things like Flying Eyes. If your glasses can do that and go under your headsets, you have to be wearing flying eyes. Colton Mortgage for residential mortgage. We've got Z Vision for the brightest lights that you can put on your airplane. Tailwindwaymakers.org. We've got ClemensInsurance.net. So many others. Check them out down there. And we'll see you guys next time in the hangar.